Okay, this topic was we will rock the council. We will rock you. No, it was how to ask your council a question was the starting topic we started with. We redefined the problem and then turned it into an opportunity. So the first thing we did was spend some time defining what it was. We decided the problem was that local government don't know, in brackets, or listen to what we, the citizens, not me, the citizen, but communities, want or need. And one or two of us said, but we don't really care, you know, we're sort of disenfranchised, we've had years of, you know, accepting that, so we weren't all fully on board with that. And we've had recent events that probably mean that politicians do need to actually re-engage with consumers. So that's a fair point. But we reframed the problem. Rather than giving someone, this is what we don't want, we turned around and said, what do we want? We'd much rather have an open, transparent, real conversation. The word conversation is important. We felt that perhaps in the past, in my lifetime, it's been enough for government to actually say, this is what you can have. But actually, a savvy, unreasonable generation of young people are now saying, this is what we want. So it needs to be a dialogue, not a monologue. I'm not suggesting at the moment it's a monologue. An open, transparent, real conversation with local government on subjects that matter to communities, groups of people, you know, by mathematics of how many people are interested, rather than just me, myself and I, as voted on by communities, so that actually goodness rises to the top rather than just loads of people moaning. So that's what we'd much rather have. Who's involved with that? We believe it's a shift, a subtle shift actually, not sort of that council just say you can have this, take it or leave it. It's much better than that. But we think it's mostly about what you can have, and that shift needs to move from mostly us to the Pink Floyd song, Us and Them. After all, we're only ordinary men. You can finish the song yourself. In other words, us, the council, and them, the citizens, somehow in a continuous loop. Number 3. The ways of doing this, that government needs to find a way of collecting. I think we found in Catherine someone who's actually already doing this. The local government needs to find a way of collecting content, wherever it comes from, whether it's questions, moans, I've done something amazing, whatever it would be. So I've called it content, from multiple channels, like Twitter, phone, on the street, wherever it is, multiple marketing channels or communication channels. So whereas the information comes in from all places, probably there's a reduced number of outputs insofar as, you know, perhaps it's very easy to find the answers, and it should start with the principle that if you phoned, if you're an old person, prefer the phone, you probably get phoned back. But your answer is available to others. So, and there's a design which Catherine is working on that actually seeks to try and do that in terms of sort of virtual town halls, I think is a word that you used. So whatever. And it has to be searchable in a very clever way, in the same way as Amazon and Google use clever search tools. You know, if this question's been answered before by topic, by geography, by your street, yada yada, you will be directed to say, we've done this earlier. Is this the answer to your question? Yes or no? If not, then go on. In other words, better than a Microsoft website, that when you go on the Microsoft website, your PC has crashed, and it says, you know, have you had this problem before? And because I'm a lazy person, I always type in what I want. I'm not going to go through hours of searching Microsoft. So actually, you've got to beat Microsoft at their own game if you're going to stop people just asking their own questions. Because people are lazy or time deprived, whatever you call it. So it's got to be a very good searchable system. Again, I think Catherine Howe is working on this thing which Simon calls aggregation. Finally, a system needs to be mapped out. David in our group Paul mapped out a systems design, which is too small to see here, which I'm sure is being photographed as I speak. A sort of systems design for such a thing, which I think is the design that you're working on. And then Paul David, one of you, did a physical manifestation, what it would look like in terms of web pages, although it may have to have other manifestations, such as the phone or Postman Pat. Because we did discuss briefly whether the people who are most trusted in the community are not maybe the policeman, and there are no more milkmen, but the postman, of course, could be that person that comes to talk to you if that's really what you need. And I think that's been tried, hasn't it? No, talked about. Finally, we didn't all come up with something. So I'm going to tell you the two people that felt they had the ability to be a champion in this respect. Holly in Kent County Council's offered to go and talk to the web team and the content team to talk about how realisable this all is. And we want to infect, in a good way, Simon here to go and proselytise this in Medway Council. And indeed Noel. Sorry. Simon. Simon. Yeah, we want you to go and proselytise and other religious acts in Medway Council. Finally, is it going to actually be any use? We felt actually if we were successful, you'd be getting less calls from the public about things that have already been dealt with, more engagement from the public about things that are important in terms of shaping strategy. So you'd re-engage the public, you wouldn't just be going over old ground all the time. It potentially therefore should save money, which could be reinvested to talk to people in face-to-face terms. Apparently a lot of the calls you get are people saying, I'm lonely. I haven't called the council with that problem yet, but it seems like a jolly good idea. And they'll say, you're not old enough to be lonely. But seriously, you know, if you're saving money, you could actually have someone goes out and talk to people, because that really is a service, a public service. And lots of people do phone for that reason. Have I missed anything at all, guys, girls?
Summed it up very nicely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
And I will undertake, I didn't put an action for me, but I'm happy to talk to Catherine or anyone that wants to dig underneath the detail of this, because we have to try to get to a page.